What you just saw was a scene staged from a movie. However, every day in this country, accidents occur in work zones that kill or seriously injure drivers, passengers, and workers.
About 11:20, I was in one end of the job site working on some time sheets, and I heard one of the trucks come in and approach the job site.
The truck was coming down number 11, and the guy was standing there holding the flag on him, and he had the stop sign on him, and the truck started stopping. But he apparently thought the limo was going to turn the sign on him, and he didn't slow down enough. And he got up close to him, and the limo turned his back on him, and that was a mistake.
And all of a sudden, there was a bump and a skid. I looked around, and the truck had skidded all the way around the road in a perfect U-turn. Of course, there was dust flying then from where it had skidded around, and my grader operator, Brian Harper, was there with me, and he went on up to where the truck was at.
I was watching, and I couldn't really see the flagman, but I could see his sign. He was well off the edge of the road by 5 or 6 feet, and I think he saw the truck coming, but within 20 foot of him, the truck swerved off the road and hit him.
The guy tried to stop the best he could, and the limo turned his back on him, and when he turned back around, the truck was so close on him, there's just nothing he could do. I tried to warn him, tried to holler, but I couldn't holler loud enough to get his attention. It was all over with in just a matter of a few seconds.
If this truck, the victim had seen the truck in just 1 second earlier, he could have jumped out of the way. But it was a matter that it was a quick move then, and he just didn't have time.
It's kind of hard to stand there and look at somebody get killed that you've known, for all your life, just about it.
11:20 that morning, that little incident happened, changed a lot of people's lives.
You know, it's easy for most of us to forget about traffic control when we're concerned with getting on with the job, whether it's patching potholes, sealing cracks, or other types of pavement repair. We naturally want to spend as little time as possible when setting up traffic control in our work areas. But as you've just seen, work areas are extremely hazardous places. In the last 10 years, over 7,000 people have lost their lives through work zone accidents. And every day that you're on the job, the potential for injury or even death is always there. This training will help you reduce the risk of accidents in your work zones. The focus will be on temporary traffic control in short-term work sites, which will be occupied for no more than one work shift. This training is primarily for daytime operations. The training is divided into 6 parts. The first part will introduce you to some general ideas on work zone safety. Part 2 will present the traffic control devices available to you, while Part 3 will discuss the concepts and elements of traffic control zones. Part 4 will cover several typical applications which you may encounter in your work. Part 5 will demonstrate good flagging procedures. And finally, Part 6 will discuss legal liability issues involving work zones. Now, let's get started. Your safety and the safety of others is your primary concern when setting up traffic control. Whenever work is done on or near the roadway, drivers are suddenly faced with changing and unexpected conditions. Now, if the drivers are not properly warned of these changes, accidents can and will occur. So protective measures must be taken. Liability is a second concern you should have when establishing a traffic control zone. Today, more than ever, work zone accidents are becoming courtroom lawsuits. These lawsuits usually result in large sums of money being awarded by public agencies to those injured. You should take note, though, that even employees are sometimes held liable for damages. A third consideration when you're on the job is image. Not only is safety important at the work site, but so is the way the public sees you and your agency. A professional-looking work crew and properly installed traffic control devices will improve your agency's image and increase the traveling public's respect for your work zone. So safety, liability, and image are 3 points you need to keep in mind when setting up traffic control at your work zone. You should also remember that drivers don't make the distinctions between construction, maintenance, or utility operations, so we need proper traffic control for all types of work. Now, let's discuss some basic concepts that will help you do your job safely. To begin, you'll need access to the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. This manual is the national standard for all traffic control devices. It applies to all streets and highways open to public travel, and it serves as the standard for state and local manuals. Part 6 of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices covers traffic controls for street and highway construction, maintenance, utility, and incident management operations. It includes illustrations and layouts for several specific work zone applications. Your state or local agency may have also prepared a supplemental manual which shows additional specific applications and layouts. Many of the typical work sites you'll encounter are illustrated in the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. However, the manual does not cover every conceivable situation. Good engineering judgment must be used to determine the best traffic control for a particular work site. This will depend upon the type of work needed, the location and duration of work, the type of roadway, traffic volume and speed, and any potential hazards. The principles which you should follow to improve the safety of motorists and workers in short-term work areas include the following. First, keep safety of motorists, pedestrians, and workers your top priority. Try to keep traffic conditions as normal as possible, and take the time to plan and install a traffic control scheme. Sometimes this may mean spending almost as much time in setting up traffic control as you spend in completing the work. Second, minimize interference with traffic movement. Try to maintain the safest maximum speed while eliminating abrupt lane closures. Also provide enough room for work equipment and vehicles inside of your work zone, and then open the roadway again as soon as possible. Third, present a clear, easily understood message to drivers and pedestrians. Now, this means knowing the exact meaning of each traffic control device that is used. It also means that any conflict in meaning between temporary control devices and those permanently in place must be resolved. For example, you may need to close a lane for maintenance. All of the normal road conditions may guide the driver into the closed lane. Therefore, a special effort must be made to overrule the regular message during the duration of the work. Fourth, have a plan in mind before going to the work site. The foreman generally takes on responsibility for designing, installing, and maintaining the traffic control plan. Now, this includes keeping the control devices in good repair and properly stored so that adequate visibility is maintained. As soon as the project is finished, you should promptly remove the traffic control devices. Fifth and finally, anticipate the increased hazards caused by your presence on or near the roadway. Be sure to keep your equipment, materials, debris, and yourself out of the path of traffic. This means try to keep a clear roadside through the work area. Use traffic control devices that are lightweight and yielding to lessen vehicle damage. The traffic control devices selected to assist motorists must satisfy a driver's need for information. You should carefully consider both the message and the placement of the traffic control devices. Inappropriate messages and incorrect placement of signs, markings, and other devices can mislead and confuse the motorist. In work zones, there are 3 categories of messages which must be conveyed to the driver. These include the warning of potential hazards, information on safe speed, and the lane or shoulder over which a vehicle should be traveling. Drivers have particular problems when traffic control devices give inaccurate information, do not conform to standards, or are improperly installed. Each person whose actions affect maintenance and construction zone safety should receive training. They must know the following principles. Keep the motorist's respect and the agency's credibility by presenting clean and well-maintained traffic control devices. If work is not in progress or a hazard is not there, take down, fold over, or cover the signs. Don't mislead the public. Remove channelizing devices when no longer needed. Don't tell drivers to expect a hazard that's not there. If you do, they may not believe other signs and devices used on the project. For example, don't use this sign unless flagging is actually taking place. Put yourself in the driver's seat and see how the traffic control looks to you. Maintain the controls as if every driver were approaching the area for the first time, especially in short-term work sites. Discuss and think about good work area traffic control. Help your co-workers to perform their work with a minimum of exposure to traffic while watching for problems and reporting any damaged or missing devices. Now, let's review what we've discussed in this introduction to work zone safety. Here are the main points to remember. 1, Part 6 of the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices is the standard for traffic control in your work zones. 2, it may be supplemented by state and local manuals, and these should be consulted before setting up a work zone. 3, plan your traffic control before going to the work site. Good planning includes carrying the proper signs, cones, and other devices needed to safely do the job. Be sure they're clean and in good repair. 4, only display those devices that are needed by the driver. If the work zone traffic control device is not needed, remove, cover, or lay it down as soon as possible. Don't mislead the public. 5, always ask yourself, how does it look to the unsuspecting driver approaching my work site? What's the driver's view? We've taken a look at the reasons for proper traffic control and its relationship to safety in the work zones. Now, in the following parts, we'll be reviewing the concept of traffic control zones, the types and uses of traffic control devices, and we'll be reviewing some typical applications that you'll be using in your work.